Welcome to Inside the Vault with Bank of Utah, where we discuss important topics and current events regarding banking and finance. Our goal is to be a resource for you to help you make well-informed decisions about managing your money. We hope you'll find this information beneficial. So let's get started. Let's open the vault to today's episode.
All right, welcome to this episode of Inside the Vault. I'm Brandon Hanson, president of Bank of Utah, and I'm here with Jed Nilson, president of Nilson Homes. So excited to have Jed here. Jed's the owner of Nilson Homes, started out as a realtor in 1999, became the president in 2017, and purchased the business from his father in 2020. He's got an MBA from Pepperdine. His company is involved in building a lot of homes in Utah, one of the top builders in Utah. But in addition to that, you do a lot of charitable work with Have a Heart and other organizations to support those in need. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Well, Nilson Homes, right? One of the top builders in the state of Utah. How did Nilson Homes get started?
Well, my dad started Nilson Homes the year I was born. So 46 years ago, my dad started the company. And obviously through the 40-ish years before I bought it, it went through a bunch of different evolutions depending on the economy or what business plan my dad was focused on at the time. I eventually bought the business January of 2020. I've owned it now for 4.5 years, and it's been quite a fun 4.5 years.
Right,
Lots
January of 2020. So that was like start of COVID. So that was
Yes.
probably pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was 70 days after I bought it that they announced they were going to lock down the world. And of course I had some thoughts of like, oh no, what have I done? Like, Dad sold it to me right at the right time. Now it's my problem. So,
Yeah.
But we reacted really well to COVID. We converted in 3 days to full digital online sales process from beginning to end. And anyways, I could go off on that for a long time. I better not. But
Yeah.
it was interesting timing to buy it right then, and then the adventures began, and it's been an adventure ever since. With we had COVID, then we had supply chain shortages, and then we had the interest rates go up. So
Yeah,
it's
super
been-
challenging time for sure.
Yeah.
So clearly you didn't just start off owning Nilson Homes. Where did your journey begin in the construction industry?
Okay. So where my career began was cleaning the office for my dad's company
All
when I was
right.
like 12 years old. And then I moved up to mowing lawns at the model homes. So did that. Then I finally did framing in high school. But then my real career began when I was 21. I got licensed as a realtor and started selling homes in the model homes. So it was 1999. Got licensed and started working model
All
homes.
right. So eventually you became probably the sales manager of the company, and did you really enjoy that side of it versus what you're doing now, or how do you look at those two different roles?
I was 21. I knew very little about real estate. I knew very little about new construction. But I loved working with people, and I loved solving problems. And so from the beginning of my career, I'd be listening to my customers and what they wanted in a home and what they wanted in the home building experience. And I would immediately be going to the company and saying, hey, I think we should modify our floor plans to do this, and we should modify our customer experience to do that. And quickly realized that I was really passionate about offering a great product and a great service and a great experience to our customers. And so I wanted to get into the business so that I could have a say in it. And so early in my career, I convinced my dad, I think prior to when he thought I was ready, to be the sales manager and be in charge of all the marketing. And then I was able to prove myself there and that it went well. And so I started getting involved more with our product offering. So what I would call like the pre-construction process kind of became my baby for the bulk of my career when I was in sales, because the whole pre-construction process determined the outcome for the customer. That determined what floor plans we offered, what our sales process looked like, what our pricing was, and then what were the touch points for the customer along through the process to make sure that they had a good experience. For 20 years, I was constantly honing that, like, how can we do this better? How can we deliver a better product and a better experience? And then I eventually, in 2017, I by then I'd had enough years in the business, almost 20 years, that I had created kind of my vision of what I could see I would want in a company that I would want to own. And so I went to my dad and presented the plan and said, hey, if you'll let me run it, then I think that I can turn it into a company that I would like to own and purchase from you. And so I ran it for a couple of years, and it went really, really well, and I loved it. I enjoyed that experience, and so I decided to go ahead and buy it from my dad, and here we are.
That's really amazing, and I love that early on, you were doing the grunt work, and
Right.
and that your dad didn't just hand it to you. I've known your dad for many years, Bruce. In fact, I was over residential lending at the bank back in the late '90s, early 2000s. So had a lot of interactions with Nilson Homes, and it's always been just a fantastic company. So, but to
Thank
see
you.
what you've built it into today is really pretty amazing. So,
Thanks. It's been fun for me and my dad. Working together with your dad is pretty hard. Like, there's challenges along the way. But somehow, no matter what challenges we had going on, we worked through them, and we continued to work well together through our entire career. And then, when I took over and ran it different, I kept waiting for my dad to step in and say, nah, you gotta, you can run it, but you gotta run it my way. And he was patient. He would say, hey, are you sure? Are you sure you should be doing this? And I'd say, yeah, just trust me, let's do this. And he'd say, okay, I trust you, and we'd do it. So it was fun. For him, he got to see me. When I turned 16, he bought me a 1970 truck, an old beater truck that I would use to collect trash, junk off of the job sites.
right?
So every other day I'd have to go to school in this old beater truck that was filled as high as we could fill it with construction debris. And then after school, we'd take it to the dumps, and then the next day we'd go and fill it up with trash. And so he got to humble me as a teenager and be like, all right, you're going to drive trash to school every other day to earn your money. But then later got to see me turn the company into what it is now, and he's really happy about it. So.
It's one of those things that's probably not very fun at the time, but then you look back on it and realize what a good thing it was for you.
Right. I was really mad that the girls were not going to like the old Chevy truck with trash in the back, but it all worked out.
Nice. So you got your MBA. When did you get your MBA?
I started my MBA in 2020. I decided to, my wife and I had a baby in 2019 and bought and remodeled the house in 2019, bought the business in 2020, and then started my MBA fall of 2020. So I graduated in May of 22. It was a 1.5-year program.
Yeah.
But so we had a lot going on all at once.
Do you think that education influenced the direction that you took the company, or?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was a wonderful opportunity to jump into an MBA program right during the middle of world chaos and stuff that nobody knew how to navigate, really. And the program was at Pepperdine, which is in California, but because of COVID, we did our classes in Vegas because Nevada was open and California was closed. So every 3 weeks I'd fly to Vegas and spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday in a classroom. Well, not in a classroom, in a hotel conference room with our colleagues. The degree is called a Presidents and Key Executives degree, and so it's unique to Pepperdine. They have an executive MBA and a regular MBA, but this one is for people that have been running businesses for 10 years or longer. So you're in a group of people that have been running businesses for a long time. And we were able to kind of help each other navigate our businesses during really tough times. And when we had ideas, every 3 weeks we got to run them past our professors and other colleagues that ran businesses. So it was a really life-changing experience for sure. I learned a lot.
That's really great. All right, tell me about this beard, right? Is your wife okay with this beard?
Yeah. It's the beard has turned into this thing. It's the dumbest thing. When COVID hit, I had never grown a beard. I just had a little bit of my facial hair was about as long as my hair here, and I just do the whole thing the same length. So I was like, well, if we have 15 days that we're locked down, I'm just not going to shave for 15 days and see what happens. And by the end of the 15 days, I think it was kind of in protest that things continued, that I was like, well, I'm just going to keep growing this thing. So I ended up growing the beard for 2 years straight with no trimming. And so like it was this thing that, and I just couldn't get myself to trim it. And then in the meantime, I'm having babies, and they all love the beard. They love to play with the beard, and they're always playing. And my teenager, she likes to braid it and do all these things. So all of a sudden it became, well, you can't trim your beard. You can't get rid of your beard. So I slowly kept trimming it back, and then my wife was like, no, now it's too short. You got it. Like, so everybody weighs in on the beard. They all get to pick on how long and how short it is. My wife gets the last say. If it gets too long, she tells me and I trim it. If it gets too short, she tells me I've gone too far. And now I don't think anyone would recognize me without the beard. So,
well, I think I ran
pretty
into you at a
hilarious.
jazz game, but I didn't know who you were at first. It kind of took me aback. So
Because I had the
yeah,
beard.
yeah,
Because I went from no beard to the beard.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It was a great disguise for like 2 years. That I could walk right past people that I knew and they wouldn't recognize me at all because of the beard. Now, if I shaved it, I could do it all again.
Yeah.
Every so many years, I'll have my own disguise, I
There you
guess.
go. I like it. All right. What are some of the biggest challenges in the construction industry, and what is Nilson Homes doing to tackle those issues?
You know, there are definitely a good handful of significant challenges that are still going on in the construction industry. There's a never-ending labor shortage, right? And so we realized years ago that there was going to be a labor shortage, and it was going to be harder and harder to find skilled people to come and do the physical work of building the homes. And so we set out and continue to ongoing be on a quest to be the builder of choice for the trades in our area. And so if we schedule really well and we make our job sites really ready for the next trade to just show up and do their work and leave, and we make our communication top notch, we make our payments regularly, you know, there's no delay in any of the payments and whatnot. If we can do certain things, then when the tradesmen out here are deciding which builder they're going to go to work for, there's a higher likelihood that they'll come to work for us. And so we feel like we've done a really good job at overcoming that labor shortage, where we've created a name and a reputation where people in the trades industry, they want to come to work for us. And so rather than dealing with jobs that are delayed because we can't get the workers here, we're more making sure that we've got the best workers on the job. So that's been a huge success. Obviously, interest rates are still a challenge. You know, your operating expenses go way up when your interest rates triple, and the home building development industry is obviously heavy in debt. You know, it's a heavy debt industry. You have to acquire large parcels of land and go put in horizontal improvements and then slowly pay those off, so that interest can add up on your pro formas and which developments you can and can't do. From the consumer side, obviously the rates have slowed down sales for most home builders and really for the entire industry. We took an approach from the very beginning. I remember the call I made to Eric DeFries. I said, hey, rates have gone up. We need to do a 2-1 buy down. And he was like, we haven't done a 2-1 buy down for 20 years. And I was like, I know.
This is
used to
your
do 'em.
sales experience. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
And so I said, we need to do a 2-1 buy down because these rates aren't going to last forever. And then we need to see if we can work with the bank to create a free refinance opportunity for the customer if the rates go down. Because I said, if we can buy the rate down for the next 2-3 years, and then the customer has an opportunity to float down to that when the rates go permanently down to there, our sales will continue. And now you look at what happened. 2022, we sold more homes than 21, and 23 we sold more than 22, and it's just continuing that while the industry took like a 40% hit, we've been growing about 20% year after year. So
We were talking about this earlier, but when interest rates spiked, you guys kind of kept going steady.
yeah,
A lot of builders thought this is the end of things, we need to pull back, but you guys stayed the course. It was a really bold decision, but it paid
Yeah.
off immensely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the rates went up, everybody came to me and said, okay, you're going to stop, right? And I was like, why would I stop? And it's, well, the rates went up. That's what you do. And I said, well, we've never had a supply shortage like we've had.
Right.
And that is a key statistic that I feel like everybody kind of ignored. Not everybody, but the majority of the industry kind of ignored that. And with my involvement with the Realtor Association has been harping on the inventory shortage for years now. And so I regularly had the latest statistics, and I think when the rates went up, we were still around a 45,000 housing unit shortage in the state of Utah. And so I went, if I can continue to deliver homes that are competitively priced and are obviously high quality, and then if I can buy the rate down and give them a free refinance within a few years, then people are going to continue to buy my homes. But if I were to have stopped what I was doing, and this is every time I talk to somebody, they'd say, well, you're going to go back to pre-selling, right? No more specs. And I'd say, okay, well, let's pretend, walk into my model home. So this is my sales background. Walk into my model home. Hey, can you guarantee my price? At the time, you couldn't guarantee prices, right? Okay, can you guarantee my time frame? No, I can't guarantee my time frame. Okay, can you guarantee me that everything that I choose in your design studio is going to end up in my home? Because that's the whole reason I'm building. No, I can't guarantee that. Okay, can you guarantee my interest rate? Yes, I can guarantee it will be higher than today. And I'm like, who's going to sign up for that? No one. If I go to that model, then it's just going to be a slow death. Luckily, when things were good, we stayed focused on being disciplined. A lot of times when times are good, home builders lose control of all their costs. They start including too many amenities that people don't care about. And then when things turn, their homes are too high priced to sell and still make a profit. So during the good times, I continually was reminding everybody, we have to stay disciplined because the good times don't last forever. And so while the times were good, our margins were extra good. And then when times got rough, then our margins were just back to good. It was definitely a courageous decision. I've had lots of names told to me about what people called me when when I was doing this. But then they've all come and thanked me for it because it kept our trades, a lot of them told me it kept them in business. Because that was one of my issues, as I said, we would regularly monitor kind of what's the fewest homes that we can continue to build and still keep everybody in business. And and obviously if we couldn't have sold that many, we wouldn't have built that many. But we went, okay, can we sell 20 a month? Are there 20 customers per month in our area that are going to purchase homes? Yes. How can we get them to purchase our homes? Okay, we need to have the highest quality. We need to have the best price point, the best customer experience, and all these things. And so it actually, in hindsight, was a really fun thing to go through because the whole team, you hear stories about when a company really becomes a team, or when a football team really becomes a team because they had that big challenge that they had to go through. And being a spec home builder, when rates triple, that's usually a kiss of death, right? And so my company, we all knew it, and we all knew that if we executed very well, that this was going to be awesome. And if we didn't, that it could be treacherous. And so everybody got focused, and we all went to work. Every department was focusing on what can they do to make sure that we can help these 20 customers per month purchase a home, and what role do they play in it. And they all excelled so well that we actually got to the end of the year and we ended up selling 20.5 homes per month. So our mantra that we talked about is we help 20 customers per month purchase a Nilson home. And I got to the end of the year and nobody really had kept track, and I told everybody we did 246, I think it was, and it was 20.5 per month. And I'm like, you guys did it. The whole team did it. It was great.
I think this falls back to your mindset, the problem of higher interest rates. No, there's an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. And you found that opportunity and executed on it. And I think you're right. It probably really was that catalyst to cement the team and build for the future. So that's really a great story. So, home building's constantly evolving. What are some things you see for the future? Modular homes, other things like that? What do you kind of envision the trend will be in the future?
Well, that's an interesting question because I don't know that anybody knows yet. Uh, I have looked into the modular housing, and I I don't see it happening. I know that's not a popular opinion. A lot of home builders inside the state are pushing the state of Utah to pitch in money to start to build factories where all of the builders could go and build modular. I just don't, the logistics of that, I don't see where anybody saves any money, and I don't see where it creates a higher quality home. We've been looking into different technologies because we've been building with sticks and bricks forever.
Right.
And really, people haven't had a reason to pay attention to do anything different until the lumber prices skyrocketed like they did, and so that spurred everybody to think like, okay, well, what if that happens again? Maybe we should look at something besides lumber. And so we've looked at this one product out of Phoenix that's out of Iran. We've looked at another product that's being built all around the world, and it's manufactured in China. So, I guess Nilson Homes, one of our core values is innovation. We want to innovate the home building industry because I just think it's kind of weird. Every year we go buy a new car and it has new technology and new features, and homes, they pretty much stay the same over time. They're built with the same trusses and same sticks, same energy efficiency, but there are technologies out there that are more energy efficient, they're quicker to build, and so the challenge is, can you build them for an affordable price, right? If I had to predict the future, rather than building the homes in factories and shipping them to the individual home sites, I could see kind of quasi-modular where on the site of the community, maybe some manufacturing goes on and then gets distributed to the individual home sites versus all of it being done clear far in a factory and shipped there. I could see it being almost like pop-up factories that would be temporary, pop them up, build it out, build out the community, and then take it down and build it to the next one. On the software side, though, for home builders, that's also been fairly archaic. Software companies haven't seen enough money in it to dedicate to home building, and so home builders basically just have to kind of piece together accounting software with some purchasing software with some drafting software, and it's really clunky. And we just made a big investment with a company called Hierarch. They have kind of all the major players from the home building industry and the software industry, and they've all come together to create this software that puts all those pieces together. It's been really fun as we've been implementing this because it's going to, on the pre-construction side, it's not going to change the sticks and bricks that we get built, but it's going to change the way that we put together the bricks and sticks and how we draft them and engineer them and purchase them and pay for them and all these things. And so it's going to make our company a lot more efficient, and it's also going to make our company a lot more flexible. One of the challenges in being a home builder in Utah is in other states you can go buy thousands of acres and it's all flat, and you can pick 4 or 5 different floor plans that you're going to build hundreds of times, and so it's fairly easy to manufacture in other states. But in Utah, you're buying sometimes 5 acres, and you have to create a product that you have to put on those 5 acres, and then the next one you're buying 20 acres and you have to create a different product, different floor plans and home designs. And this software is going to make us much more flexible, that we can adapt to these different product needs that are created by having these small parcels of property on different slopes. If a property has even the most minimal slope, it affects what you build on it, and that can become very cumbersome for home builders, where this software is going to make us much more agile to be able to expand more rapidly with less overhead and with less mistakes and more accuracy in the field and a bunch of things. So, and it's not AI software, but it's and now I'm going to forget the term, but it's a term it's very similar to AI, the way the software works. So it takes basically a drafter's idea and turns it into buildable floor plans with the purchase orders and everything put together with it very fast. Things that would have taken us months can take a day. So the home building industry is catching up a little bit with technology, but we're still far behind in the sticks and bricks, and I hope this Hierarch is going to be a big hit for us to catch us up with the rest of the world that's all involved in AI and
Yeah.
all sorts of technology.
Yeah,
So,
that's really interesting. And as you mentioned, Utah is a bit unique. We have a lake and we have mountains and we have this little piece of land in between that we're trying to build on. Obviously, Utah has been one of the fastest growing states in the country until recently. It's not as fast growing as it used to be because our home prices have gone up so dramatically. And the whole country's seen that, but it's particularly bad in Utah. The last study I saw, we're the sixth most expensive state for home prices in the country.
yeah.
And it didn't used to be that way. Governor Cox has an initiative to try to help with the affordable housing. What's Nilson Homes doing to address for affordable housing?
It's interesting that this whole thing has come about because before 2020, when it was 2017, 2018, as I had taken over and was running the business, I had thought through what's the best impact that I could make by owning this business in the area that I serve. Would it be best to continue to build custom homes like we did, that are obviously more expensive, take longer to build, and you build fewer of them? Or would it be better to build more production homes where you can build more of the same home? We don't do it like a tract that you just build everything exactly the same, but you can get fewer floor plans and build them more times, and so you can become more cost efficient, you can become higher quality, and you can build more homes, and then you can deliver them at lower prices. And we decided as a company we wanted to have a big lofty goal that someday we could create a home that people could afford on a single income, so that whether you're single or married, and if you're married and you have kids or whatever, that it could at least be a choice to own a home on a single income. Well, then 2020 hit and the goalpost got moved big time. And so then it became, well, how can we build a home that Utahns can afford, period? Even if there's multiple incomes. In many cases, you've got parents and children combining incomes to buy the home. I think since we were already headed on that mindset of how do we make housing more attainable to more people, that when COVID hit and all our home prices really skyrocketed, then we got involved with the government on, okay, what could Nilson Homes do to fix the problem? And so when the governor announced his initiative that he wanted the home builders in Utah to build 35,000 starter homes, and he wanted to keep them at a really low price point, I was given warning that I was going to have a meeting with the governor and I was going to have a chance to tell him my ideas about it. My team spent probably 4 weeks working really hard on what would our solution be to create starter homes. And then I got this 1 hour meeting with the governor that I got to sit there, and he announced the initiative, and the home builders kind of pitched in what they thought, which the general consensus was it can't be done.
Yeah.
And so I waited for my turn, and I finally said, well, here's how we could do it. And we showed the governor a real life example of a community that we had built, that if we would have been able to build it a little bit different, if the municipality would have allowed some different zoning, then we could have reduced the average sales price in that community over, it was like $120,000, that if you just took the savings and applied it to every single home. And our average sales price at the time in that community was, I think, $550. So it was going to put the homes in the $430 range if we could have done it that way. That was probably in like last November, maybe last October. And so we're coming up on a year now, and our entire team spent the last 10 months working tirelessly to figure out the right product that we could build. We created a starter home product. And where I came up with this starter home product is I used to own a rental home in Ogden, East Ogden, little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom bungalow, had a little 1-car garage detached, and I bought it in like 2006 and had it as a rental. And in 2022, I think it was, I went to sell it. This home sold for $420,000. And I went, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow that needs tons of repairs and is not a brand new home and is not energy efficient, just sold for $420,000. I could build that for $420,000 if the cities would allow me to. So I took my team and we toured East Ogden, and we toured all sorts of older communities to say, look, there are thousands of people buying smaller homes like this every month in the state of Utah. But when we go to build homes, for the last 20 years, we don't build anything like this. It's like a competition of who can build bigger and bigger and bigger. The homes in the state of Utah, on average, are the largest square footage of any home in the country by a long shot. Like the average square footage, I think, is 2,800. And the next rung down, you get like to 2,200 square feet. Like our homes are just very large and therefore very expensive. When home prices in Utah weren't expensive and rates were super low, that worked. So for a while, you could have a starter home that was a 3,000 square foot Rambler with a 3-car garage. And it was a starter home based on your payment, you know. That was in 2019. Now, 2024, that 3-bedroom, 3-car garage home is a home that over 80% of Utahns cannot afford. Me, I'm from Utah. I grew up in Ogden. I have 4 kids. I have a 5th child on the way. And I want them to all have the opportunity to live in Utah. And I know that if I'm concerned about that, there are thousands of families in the state of Utah concerned about where are my kids going to go. So we dug in hard. The governor's team worked with us in working with Weber County and the brave commissioners there that could see that they had an opportunity to fix the problem for local residents of Weber County, that they could actually afford a home. And so we went through and we redesigned an entire community, changed it from 725 homes up to 1,000 homes. And 275 of those homes are going to be these starter homes that will be single-family detached residences that will all be sold for below $450. The base prices are going to be below $400. So if you go above $400, it's because you've got a basement or you're fully landscaped or you've got a garage. So it's the first starter home community in the state to be approved, and it's the first community that will use the state's funds to fund the vertical construction of these homes. And so the whole state's looking at us and saying, all right, well, let's see if this works. So I've got a bunch of people that think no one's ever going to buy these starter homes, and then I've got a whole lot of data that tells me that they will. And so we'll break ground on the first homes in about a month. And so the first quarter of next year, we'll see what the market thinks of these homes. But we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. I think what you're doing there is really amazing, but a lot of communities don't want those smaller homes, you know, not in my backyard. How do you overcome those challenges?
Right. You know, it's interesting to use the not in my backyard. We essentially, as a team, thought through, what if this were our backyard? How would we want to design it and build it? And so we really authentically, in fact, we basically drove through my backyard when I was a kid. There was a community in where I grew up that was known as kind of the place that had the homes you didn't want to live in. And I drove my team through that community and said, this is what we will not create. If in order to create starter homes, if I have to create this, I won't do it. Our whole vision at Nilson Homes is we improve lives by creating community with love. And so as we're thinking through how we're going to build a community, we're thinking we want to create a community that we love and that the people that live there are going to love. And so we went through and said, okay, it's got to have top-notch architecture. It's got to have a layout where when you enter the community, you don't go, oh, well, there's the starter homes, and then here's the rest of the market homes. And so we designed the architecture of these starter homes that they'll blend in with regular market rate homes, that they can be on the same street, they can be right next to each other, and you wouldn't look at it and go, oh, well, that's a starter home and that's not. They look the same. We felt like it was important to include landscaping so that when the community's built, the landscaping is put in and maintained by the HOA so that you're never going to run into issues there. And then one of the key components was deed restricted, owner occupied. Throughout the country, there have been hedge funds that have come in and bought entire 1,000-lot developments. The builder builds 1,000 homes, hedge fund buys all 1,000, and they become rentals. And I did not want to create starter homes that then became future hedge fund homes. And so we worked with the county and we put a 10-year deed restriction on these homes that when there's no strings attached, like there's nothing, you don't have to qualify for it. You just have to say, yes, I'm for sure going to live there. And then when you close on it, you have to for sure live there. And then when you sell it, you just have to sell it to somebody else that's also going to live there. There's no recapture of equity or any issues like that. So it's a really just cut and dry. it won't be sold to hedge funds. And so when you added up the combination of the architecture, the really good layout of the community with parks and trails and open spaces, full landscaping, having all of it integrated so that it's not just an eyesore of these cheap houses or something. These are high quality homes that blend in with all the rest of them. And then the deed restricted so that we know that Utahns can actually purchase them so that they can stay in Utah rather than a hedge fund coming in and renting it to them.
That's a great concept. That's awesome. So there's a lot of different leadership attributes, some things that you're really good at. What are some attributes you're still maybe working on?
I think everyone in my life would say patience, that I want to do everything all at the same time and all right now. I'm regularly going to the team and being like, okay, just don't get mad at me. Just tell me, how quickly could we do this? And I have to be really specific, because I used to come in, to a meeting and be like, I really want to do this. And they'd go, okay, I guess we'll do it. And then you'd find out later they had to shelve other more important projects because of whatever I was on my mind. So I would say patience is a big one. Man, I should be guns loaded with all my weaknesses, right? But then
I know for me, I think one of the biggest challenges is balancing the level of involvement. And what I mean by that is, as a leader, you have to have a big picture perspective, but then you have to be involved in a certain level of detail. Mm-hmm. And if you get too far into the weeds and into the detail, then you're in that micromanager mode. Mm-hmm. And yet sometimes, you have to have some level of detail and understanding to make effective decisions. And so for me, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. And, occasionally if I've got an area of the bank that's having a problem, well, then I roll up my sleeves and I get really deep into the weeds, right, so that I feel like I fully understand the problem, try to fix the problem, and then pull back and let people do their jobs. But that to me is the biggest challenge, is just figuring out what level of detail, what things I should be involved with, because there's only 24 hours in the day, and
right,
you can't get to everything. So
right. And to your point, I agree with you, because my big challenge is I want to be involved in everything. Like, if I could, I'd be helping design the model home that we're in, but I don't have time to anymore. So now I have to let somebody else do it, and I want to, like, can you show me what you're doing? Or,
Well, hey, what do you do first thing in the morning? What's the most meaningful thing that you first do when you wake up?
I love having a morning routine, and so I wake up almost every day, pretty much every day. If I'm not traveling, then I wake up every day at a specific time. I wake up at 5:20, and I jump out of bed, and I put together what I need to go to hot yoga, of all things. People always think that I lift weights just based on my size, but I've been doing hot yoga for the last 8 years, and I've jokingly said, just make sure that I get to my hot yoga, and then everybody will be okay the rest of the day, right? I got to work out my stress and work out my my tenseness first thing in the morning, and so then the rest of the day I feel much better and relaxed. And so I've got a very specific time that I wake up, hit the hot yoga class, then I have a specific breakfast, and then I start my meetings at a specific time so that I can have that 3.5 hour window before the real world begins to kind of prep for it and spend some time with my kids. I get to have breakfast with my kids every day, so it's great.
Very cool. And you're telling me you don't lift weights, because that's a shocker.
No, I haven't lifted weights for like 8 years. And I started doing yoga thinking that I would lose muscle mass and gain flexibility, but I've gained flexibility and muscle mass.
Okay.
So,
well, there's the plug. I need to try that out, I guess.
You should. I'm always inviting people, and no one ever goes.
Because it doesn't sound that fun.
I know, they're like, you're going to sit in 105 degree weather and sweat while you do yoga, and you do this on purpose? And I'm like, I love it. And I've only converted one friend.
Well, it's great. You hear a lot of great leaders. They do have that morning routine, and it starts at a specific time, and they follow that, and it really just kind of sets the tone for the day. So I think that's really good. How would you describe your leadership style?
How would I describe my leadership style? I guess I don't have, I've never even come up with a name for it or thought through exactly what that style is. I know that I intentionally kind of over-educate everybody that works on the team to help everybody understand the reason why. So I like to create as clear of a vision as I can, and so every quarter the entire team meets together, and it's like 3 hours of me and a few others that will get up and kind of explain the next stage of our business and explain the business and explain why, because I want to inspire everybody that works on the team to be involved in the decisions. And, number one, I would say it's a decentralized form of leadership, that I don't like every little detail to have to come to me. I would rather let people choose a different detail than I would choose, in an effort to give them more empowerment to own their role. My concept is that if I can paint a clear vision and then enable people with the tools and the resources for them to take the vision and figure out the nuts and bolts of how to accomplish it, then I have a true team. Whereas I've seen leadership styles that the leader wants to dictate every little thing along the way, and they kind of micromanage. And I've seen that micromanaging not only can drive the leader crazy, because that means they've got to be working constantly to handle all these details, but it can drive the team crazy, because they're going, hey, if that guy would just get out of my way, I'd do some amazing stuff, but he's always looking over my shoulder and I can't get anything done. And so kind of a hands-off leadership style with a desire to inspire people to get behind the vision and then input their own expertise and their own ideas and their own vision inside of my vision, because I've just found that when you kind of nurture talent and give talent some trust, then they do much bigger and better things than I even had in mind. It regularly happens in my meetings that now I've gotten used to it, but in the beginning I would show up to meetings and ask a bunch of questions, and I'd expect to get a bunch of problems back. And over time, while we've worked with the team that we have here, I ask some questions and they give me answers that I'm like, well, I thought I was going to have to find some problems in here, and all I'm finding is you guys are doing better things than I was even asking. And because I just think that the humans in general, we just want to be the best, and a lot of times employers don't realize that in their team. And when you realize that people just mostly want to do their best, and you just need to give them the tools and resources and the trust to do it, they take off and they do amazing things.
Yeah, I think you said some really interesting things there. So you're inspirational, you set the vision, right? But then you delegate the authority. But a key part in making that successful is you've got to trust your people, right? To follow through with what that vision is. And I think that's where managers maybe get in the habit of micromanaging, is there's a lack of trust. And so if you've built a good team around you, then you're able to successfully do that. So that's really good.
Well, and you know where I think the lack of trust comes from is a lot of leaders expect perfection. And so when there's a problem, it's a big problem. And oh my goodness, I expected you to be perfect and there's a problem here. We need to talk about this problem. And years ago, for some reason, that resonated with me, that I was seeing that people were almost afraid to make mistakes. And so they just wouldn't do anything great so that they wouldn't make a mistake. And so we changed our dialogue, that we no longer call things problems or mistakes. We call them opportunities for improvement. And we've been doing it for years now. And it took people a while to be like, because they'd go, I have a problem. And I'd go, all right, so we have an opportunity for improvement. Because if we have a problem and we figure out how to fix it on this one, we'll be able to figure out how to fix it on every other future potential time it's going to happen. And so really all we've got is an opportunity for improvement, that we can improve the next time. So when somebody on our team makes a mistake, we don't go, hey, everybody, so-and-so made a mistake over here, we got a big problem. We go, hey, we got an opportunity for improvement here. Let's all dig in and figure out how we can prevent this problem from happening next time. We have to solve it for this time, but we've got to prevent it from the next time.
Yeah. Has your leadership style always been this way, or
No.
did it evolve? How did it start off?
Oh man, I feel bad for the people that worked for me in the beginning. Like,
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm thank goodness it's not the same style that it's always been. Luckily I had the opportunity to work for my dad for almost 20 years and observe. So I got to be in the game, but also observing the game because I wasn't calling all the shots, and I got to see the results of somebody else calling all the shots. Over time, just observing, learning from failures. Obviously, you fail enough doing the same thing the same time, you eventually figure out you better do something different. Probably about 10 years ago, I started reading books, and really my favorite is to listen to books. I listen to more books than I read, but I ended up just becoming addicted to books. Like, if I'm awake and there's spare time, I don't watch any television, like not one single bit of television, like they don't exist in our house, or listen to music or anything like that. I started loving to consume books, and so listening to enough books about all sorts of things, from human psychology to quantum physics to different business concepts, and it seems like a collection of learning from experience and then from books. And then, of course, I eventually went and got my MBA. There was a really good experience that gave me some different leadership insights, and so it's kind of all been put together.
Yeah, that's
what it is now.
That's amazing. I also sympathize for the employees that I first supervised. You go into that first job where you're the boss, and you have this expectation of yourself that you know everything, and that's why you were put in that role, and you pretty quickly find out you don't know everything, and it's a humbling experience, and then you learn from it and you grow. So that's really cool you've been able to do that.
Now that I think of it, I bet you if I went through a lot of our core values, those would show me what my weaknesses have been in the past. Because basically I've gone and said, okay, I've got this weakness, so now my core value needs to be the opposite of that so that I can create what I want in my life versus what I was experiencing at the time, So I used to have a really tough time with dealing with challenges or confrontations, that I thought that if you had to have a disagreement, that people needed to be really mad and yell at each other type of thing. And so I learned, no, if you're just really forthright and direct with people and you're calm about it, then usually you work through problems. So
Right.
One of our core values in the company is being forthright and direct with everyone so that you can just deal with an issue without getting all hot and heavy about it, right? I used to be a little short-tempered.
I absolutely love that approach. We have something similar at Bank of Utah. We have our cultural beliefs. And about 12 years ago, we sat down as a leadership team to figure out what our core beliefs were going to be. And the process for that wasn't to, outline a bunch of things that we're really good at. What we did is we talked about what was holding the company back. What is making it to where we can not be as successful as we want to be. And to give you an example, one of the cultural beliefs that came out of this was working together. Well, working together came out of that as a cultural belief, not because we were good at working together. We were actually terrible at working together. We've got all these different departments and these different silos. And so we determined that we needed to do a better job at working together. So we made that a cultural belief. So I think that approach is really effective to sort of spotlight the problem, name it a value, name it a cultural belief, and then people know that's the expectation of the company, is this is something that we value and we care about. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, my life is a little bit, my life is a direct reflection of that exactly. That 10-ish years ago, I was not who I wanted to be, and I was in a bad place in every way I could describe. I was suicidal and horrible health and horrible financial health and all sorts of things. And I made a decision that I wanted to become happy and healthy and wealthy. And so I just wrote down, I am happy, I am healthy, and I am wealthy. And of course, I wasn't any of those things at the time. And still to this day, 10 plus years later, I still regularly write down those things. And then we do that as a company. Whatever we want to focus on becoming, we talk about it as if we are, and we create these statements, call them affirmations or call them mantras, but we actually do it as an organization, that we talk about what we want to become. We never talk about what we don't want to become, because that's in the past, right? One of our core values is continual improvement, and that's probably the core value that we live the strongest if you picked out of all of them. When we talk about it both in our career and our personal lives, that if we're continually improving, then we don't need to get caught up in our past. We can just go, well, that was yesterday, so now today I'm improving, and so then we can always be focusing on the future and how we can become better. And I did that as an experiment with the business, because I thought, what if I had an entire team that all had the vision of continual improvement? So I actually created, as part of our profit sharing, that in order to qualify for the full amount of profit sharing, people have to read or listen to a book a month. Initially, a lot of people were mad. We had some people quit, and I went, well, great, if they quit, they're definitely not into continual improvement. And then the ones that stuck around ended up reading the books, and then now they've read enough books that the whole culture inside of my company is talking about the latest book that they've read that's helping them in their lives.
Yeah.
But that was all from saying, what do we want to become? Let's put a target on there. Let's create a core value out of it. And then let's go live that core value, not just talk about it. And so it's been an interesting experiment.
I really love, you introduced something, it was important to you, you had some people leave over it. And one of the things that I've learned is your company can't be all things to all people.
Right.
So it's really important to know what your vision is, know what your values are, and stick to those, know who you are as a company, and attract the people that buy into that vision. And then when you have those people as part of your organization, you have a lot of success. And as a leader, you're really happy because you're following your values and completing your vision. So that's really great. So what do you like to do for fun?
Oh, I love everything Utah. You get me outside, and I'm always on a bike, whether it's a mountain bike or a dirt bike or a snow bike that you convert your dirt bike into a snowmobile, or a snowmobile or a Harley, you name it. So I love to get into the mountains and on some kind of vehicle that's going to cruise me around. I love to go boating, water skiing and wake surfing, and I love Lake Powell. I love St. George. So my family and I were either in the mountains, or we're in the southern part of the state, or we're in Mexico. We love to go to Mexico, and that's my wife's favorite. And so we go down there and eat really good food and go out on the ocean and see the ocean life and whatnot.
All right.
So,
Yeah, sounds like my kind of guy. 2 wheels, the mountains,
Two
Mexico.
wheels.
I love
That's
all
right.
that. You read a lot of books or listen to a lot of books. Do you have a favorite leadership book?
Well, I have a favorite book that I wouldn't necessarily call it a leadership book, but it's the book that I've kind of based my whole business on,
Okay.
and my whole life on, really. It's called Power versus Force. It's by an author named David Hawkins. It really has nothing to do with business necessarily, but when you apply the principles to your life and to business, then it makes everything work much better. On a much lighter read, I love the book The Obstacle is the Way. That's how we've run our entire business. That it's kind of the opportunity for improvement. Instead of looking at a problem as an obstacle, you're like, well, the obstacle is the way. If I go fix this problem, then it's going to get me to the next level in my business. So that I would say between those two books, they're probably my top favorite.
What about podcasts? You have anybody you really like?
I don't listen to any podcasts.
Okay.
I get told all the time, people are like, do you listen to Joe Rogan? And I'm like, no, I've never listened to him. And they're like, well, you do all the stuff that he does. I guess he does outdoor stuff and he does hot yoga and different things, but I've never listened to it. So
Crazy story from your career. Anything just crazy that's happened in your time at Nilson Homes?
so much crazy. Man, but I don't know if any of it can go on film. But, on a positive note, some of the craziest things that have happened, we've been able to build a lot of just variety of homes. We built a $2.5 million home in Evanston, Wyoming that had an indoor golf simulator and an indoor pool and all these cool things. And then we've built have-a-heart homes that are charitable homes that are the most affordable way that you can build a home so that you can help somebody get into a home that they could never afford, and pretty much everything in between. So it's been kind of a crazy career.
All right, Jed, let's do a little rapid fire here.
Okay.
So construction projects, always go over budget?
Always.
They
Every
do,
time.
don't they?
Oh yeah, every single time. It's amazing.
Cats or dogs?
Ooh, both. We have a dog, and our dog rescued a cat, so now we have a dog and a cat.
All right.
Well, we have a dog, and then we call the cat Louie's cat. So I somehow am a cat person now.
All right.
Never
Well, I'm
thought I would
allergic
be.
to cats, so I don't have that
I
problem.
thought I was too. But I'm good.
So, something breaks in your house. You can fix anything in your house, right?
No. In fact, I can't fix anything basically in my house. I regularly get made fun of as a homeowner that can't fix all the stuff. So our warranty department fixes my house for me. When I was framing, there was a 3-man crew, and after day 1, they said, "How about you just cut and carry?" And after day 2, they were like, "How about you just carry?" And so one guy would measure and cut, I would carry, and the other guy would frame it.
All right.
I got a rapid fire for you.
Yeah.
Do bankers wake up in their suits?
No.
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 You don't go to sleep in your suits?
No.
Okay.
But I like that idea. Well, awesome. I really appreciate you spending some time with us, sharing those stories, and
Thanks a lot.
allowing us to learn from you. So thank you.
Well, and thank you to the bank. I hope there's still tape for this, but the relationship with the Bank of Utah has been so significant to the success of Nilson Homes that I can honestly say the success of Nilson Homes would not be what it is without the Bank of Utah. And if you need me to sing your praises to anybody, I will sing your praises, because it has been such a meaningful relationship, and you guys have stuck with us in scary times, and you've looked at the data with us, and you've had courage with us, and that has made all the difference.
I really appreciate that, Jed. That's nice to hear. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inside the Vault with Bank of Utah. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to explore, please send them our way. And be sure to visit our website for more exclusive content and follow us on social media. That's it for now. Until next time on Inside the Vault with Bank of Utah.